Today's story is about a young woman named Olena, who inherits a treasured family heirloom, an antique clock that has stood in her family for generations. This clock stopped ticking after her grandmother passed away. Determined to preserve the memory of her grandmother and her family's legacy, Olena decides to have the clock repaired. What follows is a journey filled with unexpected discoveries and heartfelt moments. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to my channel, like the video, and leave your comments below. For every new subscriber, I will donate $1 to a charity that helps those in need. Olena had always known about the clock. It was a beautiful piece, tall, wooden, carved with delicate patterns, and its pendulum swung gracefully, marking the passing of time for decades in her grandmother's old house. When her grandmother passed away, the clock fell silent. It seemed as if time itself had stopped. After the funeral, Olena was the sole heir to her grandmother's belongings. Among the things she inherited, the clock stood out not just for its appearance, but for the memories it carried. Every time she looked at it, she remembered the stories her grandmother told her about their family, the love and hardships passed down through generations. One chilly autumn morning, Olena stood in her apartment, staring at the clock that had been carefully transported from her grandmother's house. She gently touched its wooden frame, feeling the coolness beneath her fingers. "I want to hear you tick again," she thought softly. "I want to keep the memories alive." Olena did not know much about clock repair, but she was determined to find someone who could restore the old heirloom. She opened her laptop and started searching for clockmakers in her city. After reading several reviews, she found the contact information of a watchmaker named Dmytro, known for his careful and skilled restoration work. She hesitated for a moment, then picked up the phone and dialed the number. "Hello, this is Olena," she said. When Dmytro answered, "I have an old family clock that stopped working after my grandmother's passing. I would like to know if you can repair it." There was a brief pause before Dmytro replied with a calm and confident voice. "Of course, antique clocks require special care, but I enjoy working with them. If you can bring it in, I'll take a look and tell you what can be done." Relieved, Olena arranged a meeting for the next day. She felt a strange mix of anticipation and nervousness. This clock was more than just a timepiece. It was a symbol of her family's history and love. The next afternoon, Olena carefully carried the clock to Dmytro's small workshop on a quiet street. The walls were lined with clocks of all sizes and ages, each with its own story. Dmytro greeted her with a warm smile and invited her inside. As he examined the clock, his eyes reflected a respect for the craftsmanship and history it held. "This clock has character," he said. "It's seen many years, and probably many hands that took care of it. Repairing it will be challenging but rewarding." Olena watched him work, feeling a mix of hope and curiosity. Little did she know, this repair would mark the beginning of a story that would change her life forever. Dmytro arrived promptly the next morning. He was a young man, in his late 20s, with an easy smile and a quiet confidence that made Olena feel at ease right away. He introduced himself simply, saying he was from a small town not far from the city, and that repairing clocks had been his passion since childhood. As he carefully took the antique clock from Olena's hands, he examined it closely, running his fingers over the woodwork and inspecting the delicate clock face. His eyes sparkled with admiration and respect for the craftsmanship. "This is a fine piece," he said, thoughtfully. "Restoring it will take time and patience. Some parts are worn down, and the mechanism is quite complex, but it's worth every effort." Olena nodded, watching as he began to carefully disassemble the clock, setting each tiny gear and spring aside with expert precision. As Dmytro worked, a quiet conversation began between them. He spoke of his hometown, a small place, where life moved slowly but simply, where everyone knew each other and family meant everything. He shared stories of his grandfather, who taught him how to repair watches and clocks, passing down skills that had become part of who he was. Olena listened intently, fascinated not only by his skill but by the warmth in his voice and the gentle way he spoke about his family. In return, she told him about her own grandmother, about the stories passed down through generations, and the special meaning this clock held for her. The more they talked, the more Olena felt a connection growing between them, a feeling she had not expected. She caught herself stealing glances at Dmytro as he worked, his focused expression, the way his hands moved with care and precision. There was something honest and sincere about him that drew her in. But she kept her feelings hidden, unsure if this was just a fleeting attraction or something deeper. When the repair took longer than expected, Dmytro suggested she come back the next day to check on the progress. Olena agreed, eager to see the clock coming back to life, but also to spend more time with the young man who had so quickly become important to her. Each day brought small moments of shared smiles, quiet jokes, and stories exchanged over the hum of tiny gears turning. The clock was no longer just an object in need of repair. It was a bridge between two lives, slowly weaving them closer together, and though neither said it out loud, both felt that this was only the beginning of something much bigger than a simple clock restoration. As Dmytro continued his delicate work on the antique clock, carefully removing each gear and spring, his fingers brushed against something unusual, a thin, folded envelope hidden deep within the wooden frame. He paused, curiosity immediately sparked, and gently extracted the small aged paper. Olena looked over his shoulder, her breath catching as she saw the envelope, worn with time but still intact. Dmytro carefully unfolded the letter inside, revealing neat handwriting in faded ink. The letter was addressed to Olena, though it was dated many years ago, and signed by her grandmother. As Dmytro read the letter aloud quietly, Olena's heart began to race. In the letter, her grandmother wrote about a secret, a document hidden somewhere, containing truths about the family's inheritance, more than just the clock and the old house. It hinted at a legacy that had been kept from everyone, perhaps to protect Olena, or to hide something valuable. The letter spoke in riddles, suggesting that the inheritance was tied to a legal paper that had never been revealed. It warned Olena to be cautious, as there were those who might try to claim what was hers by dishonest means. Olena felt a mix of emotions, confusion, disbelief, and a growing unease. She had always believed the family story was simple: the clock, the house, memories. But now doubts crept in. Could there really be more? Was her grandmother hiding something important all along? She looked at Dmytro, searching for answers in his calm eyes. He nodded slowly, understanding the weight of the discovery. "This changes everything," he said quietly. "We need to find that document, but carefully. There could be people who don't want it found." Olena swallowed hard, her mind racing with questions and fears. The quiet project of repairing a clock had suddenly turned into a journey into the unknown, filled with secrets and risks. Yet, despite the uncertainty, she felt a strange strength growing inside her. She wasn't alone. With Dmytro's steady presence beside her, maybe she could uncover the truth and protect her family's legacy, no matter what it took. Olena and Dmytro knew that the discovery of the hidden letter was only the beginning. Determined to uncover the truth behind her family's secret, they began their search for information together. The small town's library, dusty archives, and old courthouse records became their second home. Every document, every old photo, every faded note was scrutinized with care. What they found was far more complicated than they had imagined. The family inheritance was tied not only to the clock and the house but to legal documents that could open the door to a significant fortune. But with wealth came danger. The deeper Olena and Dmytro dug, the clearer it became that someone else was already trying to claim what was rightfully hers, and using dishonest means to do so. One afternoon, as they examined a particularly old legal file, a name appeared again and again, a distant relative who had suddenly shown interest in the property. Rumors whispered among the townspeople suggested this relative was no stranger to shady deals and was known for ruthless tactics. Olena's heart sank. This was no longer just about family memories, it was a battle for her future. "We need to be careful," Dmytro warned, as he closed the file slowly. "This is more than just paperwork, it's about power and control. If they find out we're looking, they won't hesitate to stop us." Olena nodded, her resolve hardening. "I can't believe someone in my own family would do this, but you're right, we can't trust anyone else." They realized that every phone call might be listened to, every meeting watched. The danger was real, creeping closer with every step they took toward the truth. Despite the fear, they refused to back down. Instead, they grew closer, bound by a shared purpose and the trust that had blossomed between them. In a world full of uncertainty, they had only each other. As night fell over the quiet town, Olena looked at Dmytro and said softly, "I'm glad you're here with me. Whatever happens, we face it together." Dmytro smiled, a steady calm in his eyes, "Always. No matter what comes next." As the days passed, Olena and Dmytro's bond grew stronger. What had begun as a simple meeting over an old clock had transformed into something deeper. A connection built on trust, shared secrets, and growing affection. Their conversations stretched late into the night, filled with dreams of a future together, away from the shadows threatening her family legacy. But the world around them grew darker. Threatening letters arrived at Olena's doorstep, messages warning her to stop digging into the past. One evening, as she walked home, a stranger's eyes followed her from across the street. The feeling of being watched settled like a weight on her chest. Then came the police involvement. At first, it seemed routine. Questions about the property, about claims others were making, but soon, it became clear that someone was manipulating the system to intimidate Olena. The authorities pressed her with accusations she knew were false, hoping to scare her into giving up. Adding to the turmoil were the betrayals from those she had once trusted. Close relatives she had counted on suddenly distanced themselves, or even sided with those trying to claim the inheritance. Olena's world felt like it was crumbling. One quiet afternoon, sitting in the small cafe where they often met, Olena confessed to Dmytro the turmoil inside her. "I don't know what to do anymore," she said softly. "This fight is tearing everything apart. Maybe it's better to leave it all behind. Run away with you and forget this mess." Dmytro reached across the table, taking her hand gently. "I'm not going anywhere," he said firmly. "And neither should you. This is your family's truth, you're right, I'll fight with you. For us, for our future." Olena looked into his eyes and saw the unwavering resolve that matched her own. But the choice was hers alone. To fight meant risking everything: safety, relationships, even their newfound love. To run meant leaving behind the past, but also the chance for justice and closure. The night before a crucial meeting that could decide the fate of the inheritance, Olena sat alone, torn between fear and hope. Memories of her grandmother, the ticking of the old clock now repaired, and Dmytro's steady presence filled her thoughts. In the end, she knew what she had to do. For her family, for the truth, and for the love that had blossomed in the face of danger. When morning came, Olena was ready. Whatever awaited them, they would face it together, united, stronger, and unafraid. The tension that had built over weeks finally reached its breaking point. Olena and Dmytro stood before the courtroom, surrounded by faces from their past, some familiar, some unexpected. The secret hidden for generations was about to be revealed. Inside the packed room, documents were laid out, testimonies given, and the truth unfolded, piece by piece. The hidden will, concealed in the envelope, found within the old clock, clearly established Olena's rightful claim to the family estate. It exposed the attempts by the distant relative to manipulate and unlawfully seize what did not belong to them. But the victory came, not without a price. During the legal battle, Olena had to confront painful truths about those she once trusted. Some family ties were severed forever. The stress weighed heavily on her, and Dmytro alike. There were moments when doubt and fear crept in, threatening to overwhelm their spirit. Still, throughout every challenge, they held tightly to one another. Their love, forged in the heat of conflict and strengthened by shared struggles, became their sanctuary. After the final verdict was announced, granting Olena full ownership and peace of mind, they returned home to the quiet ticking of the restored family clock. Its steady rhythm filled the room with a comforting presence. Olena reached out and gently touched the clock's face, a smile spreading across her lips. This clock, once silent and still, was now alive again. Just like their journey. It was more than just an heirloom, it was a symbol of resilience, of time's passage, and of new beginnings. Dmytro stood beside her, his eyes reflecting the same hope and determination. "We made it through," he said quietly. "Not just the fight, but everything else. Together." Olena nodded, feeling the weight of the past lifting. "Yes," she replied. "Our true wealth isn't in the estate or the money. It's in this: the trust, the love, and the courage to face the unknown." As the sun set outside, casting warm light through the window, they knew their story was only just beginning. Whatever the future held, they would face it side by side, stronger and united. The old clock ticked on, marking the start of their new life, a life filled with promise, hope, and a love that had weathered every storm.